The evening fog clung to the edges of Blackridge town like a living thing, curling around the crumbling buildings and narrow streets. Journalist Evelyn Moore's car crept along the cracked asphalt, tires crunching against gravel as she approached the outskirts where the infamous Blackridge Hospital waited. Locals had warned her, some in hushed tones, others shaking their heads, but the rumors only fueled her determination. "No one who enters comes back the same," one man had said. Evelyn had smiled politely, hiding the flicker of unease she felt. The hospital appeared suddenly through the mist, an immense shadow of decay. Its stone facade, chipped and weathered by decades, loomed over the abandoned parking lot. Windows, broken and darkened, reflected the dying sunlight in jagged shards. A rusted iron gate, half fallen, swung loosely on its hinges. The silence surrounding the building was oppressive, almost unnatural. Evelyn parked her car and stepped out, her camera bag slung across her shoulder. The air smelled of damp earth and rusted metal. She hesitated at the threshold. Something in the stillness made her chest tighten. Pushing the gate open, she entered the hospital courtyard. Overgrown weeds twisted around broken benches and toppled trash cans. The main entrance groaned as she pushed it, echoing through the empty hall. Her flashlight cut swaths of yellow light through the darkness, illuminating faded hospital signs, scattered medical charts, and wheelchairs frozen mid-tilt. Dust swirled with each cautious step, and Evelyn's heartbeat quickened as she noticed faint scratches along the walls, like fingernails clawing at the plaster. She moved deeper, camera in hand, snapping photographs of the decaying corridors. In the records room, she found stacks of patient files, some yellowed with age, others oddly preserved. Most bore the dates of death decades ago, yet notes scribbled in the margins suggested treatments far beyond standard medicine, procedures that twisted mind and body, leaving patients changed. Evelyn shivered, flipping through one particularly thick file, a patient chart marked Subject 47, Transformation Pending. Then came the sounds, soft at first, almost imperceptible, a footstep echoing from above, then another, faster, closer, as though someone or something was pacing along the upper hallways. Evelyn froze, listening, her breath visible in the chilly air. Whispers drifted from the far end of the hall, unintelligible but unmistakably human. Her flashlight flickered. Shadows shifted unnaturally along the walls, stretching longer, curling in ways that made no sense. Finally, she reached the main hall. A large, broken chandelier swayed gently, despite the absence of wind. Evelyn's eyes caught a journal lying on a dust-covered table, the leather cracked and faded. She opened it carefully. The last entry, written in a spidery hand, made her stomach turn. The patients never truly died. They only changed. Those who enter will see or become what remains when humanity is stripped away. A sudden crash from the floor above made her jump. Heart pounding, Evelyn realized the hospital was not as empty as it seemed, and that whatever lingered here was aware of her presence. Evelyn's flashlight flickered, threatening to die as she hesitated at the foot of the crumbling staircase. Every instinct screamed at her to leave, but the journalist in her refused. She needed answers. Slowly she climbed, each step groaning under her weight. The second floor was worse, peeling wallpaper, broken tiles, and an acrid smell that made her stomach turn. The shadows along the corridor seemed to stretch unnaturally, bending around corners as if reaching for her. She paused at the top landing, listening. Footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, but when she shone her light toward the sound, the hall was empty. Heart hammering, she pressed on, the beam cutting through darkness that seemed almost solid. Then, a movement in the corner of her eye, a pale figure standing silently, its head tilted unnaturally. Evelyn froze, feeling a chill crawl up her spine. The figure's eyes were dark voids, hollow and unblinking, yet somehow fixed on her. It didn't speak, but the silence around it felt alive, watching. Swallowing her fear, Evelyn backed toward a side room. She needed a place to regroup. Inside, she found the remnants of what had once been a laboratory. Broken glass vials, rusted tools, and books filled with cryptic handwriting lay scattered across tables. One journal caught her attention, Dr. Holloway's. Its pages detailed experiments on life extension, on preserving consciousness beyond death, often at horrifying costs. Evelyn's eyes widened as she read about patients who were trapped between life and death, their bodies altered, their minds twisted. A sudden soft cough made her spin around. The pale figure had moved closer. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet being tugged by invisible strings. Fear gripped her, but curiosity kept her rooted. She whispered, Who are you?" No answer. Instead, it tilted its head further, a low whisper echoing through the room. Her name. Her blood ran cold. Evelyn ran, slipping through the twisting hallways. Doors slammed on their own, forcing her into corridors she didn't remember seeing. The hospital seemed to reshape itself around her, turning familiar paths into a maze. She stumbled upon a mirror, cracked and grimy. She froze. The reflection staring back wasn't quite her own. Her eyes were dark, hollow, her skin pallid, her expression twisted into something she didn't recognize. Shaking, she turned from the mirror, and the figure was closer now, just at the edge of the flashlight's beam. It mirrored her movements, silent, patient, relentless. Evelyn's mind raced, the journal's warnings, the patient records, the whispers, all converging into one terrifying realization. The patients hadn't died, they had changed, and now some part of them lingered, waiting for the next person to stumble into their domain. Her flashlight flickered violently. Shadows crawled along the walls, unnervingly alive. Every sound seemed amplified, the creak of the floor, the distant drip of water, and the whispers repeating her name. Evelyn's pulse surged. She had entered a place where reality itself was untrustworthy, where the hospital had become a predator, and she was trapped inside. As she backed into the far corner of the lab, the figure finally moved closer, just a few steps away, silent and patient, watching her every move. Evelyn realized that leaving might not be as simple as retracing her steps. Whatever haunted Blackridge Hospital was aware, and it wanted her next. Evelyn's breath came in short, ragged gasps as she stumbled through the twisting hallways. The hospital no longer felt like a building. It had become a living maze, corridors stretching impossibly, turning back on themselves as if designed to trap her. Every corner held shadows that slithered just beyond the reach of her flashlight, and whispers followed her, repeating her name in distorted echoes. The changed patients were closing in. She rounded a corner and froze. One of them emerged fully into view, a tall, gaunt figure, its limbs twisted unnaturally, skin stretched tight over knobby joints. Its eyes were hollow, black voids, yet they seemed to pierce her very thoughts. Another figure appeared behind it, then another, a silent procession of grotesque forms, all moving toward her with an eerie, deliberate patience. Evelyn's hands shook as she clutched her camera like a talisman. She bolted, darting into a narrow hallway. The walls seemed to pulse, breathing, alive. Her flashlight flickered again, and for a split second she saw visions of the hospital's past, screaming patients strapped to tables, shadowed figures administering twisted experiments, the air thick with screams and chemicals. Evelyn stumbled into a storage room and found what appeared to be Dr. Holloway's private lab. Charts, diagrams, and vials of strange liquids covered every surface. Among the notes she found references to a ritual to trap souls, a machine designed to extend life at the cost of humanity. Her stomach churned as she realized the truth. The patients she had glimpsed were the failed experiments, now wandering in grotesque forms, tethered to the hospital by the ritual. Suddenly, a chilling sound echoed from above, a long, low, drawn-out wail that reverberated through the building's bones. Evelyn's heart leapt. She realized that the top floors held the most dangerous of the changed patients, perhaps even Dr. Holloway himself, transformed into something monstrous. Time seemed fractured, clocks spun backward, sunlight flickered in and out of broken windows, and shadows stretched impossibly long along the walls. Every movement she made was mirrored by the whispering figures, their hollow eyes tracking her. Panic rose in her chest. She needed to find the source of the ritual machine, the key to escaping the hospital alive. But the hospital had other plans. Hallways looped endlessly, doors disappeared into walls, and familiar rooms twisted into unfamiliar shapes. The changed patients advanced, whispering her name, mimicking voices she recognized, friends, family, even her own voice, trapping her in a nightmare of memory and fear. Her flashlight fell on a set of hidden stairs, labeled in faded letters, Sublevel X. The aura around the staircase was suffocating, the air thick with decay and something worse, malice. Evelyn's instincts screamed at her to flee, yet she knew the most terrifying confrontation awaited below. With trembling hands, she descended into the shadows, the steps creaking beneath her weight. The faint glow on the lower floor revealed shapes moving just beyond vision, watching, waiting, patient. As she reached the bottom, Evelyn realized with a shiver that the true horror of Blackridge Hospital was not the patients she had seen so far, but what lurked in the depths below, something older, stronger, and far more twisted than she could imagine. And whatever it was, it knew she had arrived. The air in Sublevel X was suffocating. thick with the metallic tang of blood and decay. Evelyn's flashlight barely penetrated the darkness, revealing rows of rusted cages, each containing forms barely recognizable as human. Some shifted slightly, hollow eyes following her every move. The whispers of the changed patients grew louder, layering over one another, forming a chorus of torment that made her teeth chatter. She knew the ritual machine had to be here, some device anchoring these souls, keeping them trapped in this liminal state. Then she saw him. Dr. Holloway stood at the center of the sub-level, a grotesque fusion of human and something else entirely. His skin was stretched and mottled, his limbs twisted unnaturally, but his eyes burned with intelligence, recognizing her as more than just another victim. "You shouldn't have come here," he rasped, his voice a distorted echo of the man he once was. "But now that you have a choice. Join us or become something else." Evelyn's stomach turned. She realized the truth. Blackridge Hospital didn't kill its patients, it changed them, stripping their humanity while leaving their consciousness tethered to this nightmare. She swallowed her fear, gripping her camera like a weapon, and edged toward the machine. It was a bizarre contraption, wires snaking across the floor, suspended jars containing faintly glowing figures, the trapped souls of those who had entered before her. Holloway moved toward her, his gait jerky but purposeful. The cages rattled as the changed patients sensed their master's presence, their whispers rising to a deafening crescendo. Evelyn knew she had only moments. She grabbed a heavy metal tray and smashed one of the jars, sparks flying. The machine shuddered violently, emitting a high-pitched screech. Holloway screamed, the sound a terrible mix of rage and fear as shadows surged around him. The hospital seemed to react violently. The walls groaned, the floors buckled, and the cages twisted in impossible angles. Evelyn sprinted toward the stairwell leading to the surface. The changed patients, momentarily disoriented by the collapsing ritual, surged after her. She leapt over broken floorboards, the air thick with dust and the shrieks of trapped souls. The exit loomed ahead, a small crack of dawn light cutting through the darkness. She emerged into the morning air, coughing and gasping, her body shaking from adrenaline. Behind her, the hospital seemed to collapse in on itself, a final shudder of rage echoing from within its walls. Evelyn didn't look back. She clutched the journal she had found, evidence of the horrors inside. She had escaped, but something inside her whispered that Blackridge Hospital's curse had not ended, that the changed were still out there, waiting for the next soul foolish enough to enter. Even later, when she returned home, Evelyn would catch glimpses of shadows moving in mirrors, fleeting whispers echoing from empty rooms. The horror of Blackridge Hospital had followed her into the world outside, a reminder that some doors, once opened, can never truly close. And somewhere, deep in the ruins of the sub-level, Dr. Holloway's consciousness stirred, waiting for the next curious visitor to complete the cycle.